Ellie.
Hey, Ava.
You know, that bread made me kind of full.
Of course it did. Oops, did I just make a rock pun?
That gives me a super awesome rockin' idea.
Let's make rock candy now! Solid idea.
Rock solid idea.
I won't take that pun for granted.
It's a hard rock life for us. It's a hard rock life for us. Rock geologist.
Man, I love a geology.
Me too. Let's head to the kitchen. Let's get started and get at the ingredients.
We'll need 2 cups of water, 2 cups of sugar. Here you'll need 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla or any flavoring extract, and then 2 to 3 drops of food color.
So in order to make this contraption, you're gonna put a little skewer in between a clip and then another skewer in between another clip, and then you're gonna put it inside until it doesn't touch the bottom, but it's very close to touching the bottom.
When making rock candy, make sure to use a thin wooden stick. A popsicle stick or wooden skewer works perfect.
Additionally, make sure to use a glass cup instead of plastic. Fun fact, foam cups and plastic cups are often too porous and will attract sugar crystals away from the skewer.
First, we'll wet each wooden skewer with water, and then roll it in granulated sugar. This base layer gives the sugar crystals something to grab when they start forming. Set these aside to dry while you prepare the sugar syrup.
We can prepare the sugar syrup by placing 2 cups of water into a medium-sized pan and then boiling it. After that, we can add 1 cup of sugar and then mixing it after each addition.
I was so stupid. You'll notice that it takes longer for the sugar to dissolve after each cup you add. Continue to stir and boil the syrup until all the sugar has been added and it's completely dissolved.
After, remove... It's not a joke, I swear. After that, remove the pan from the heat.
If you're using colors or flavorings, add 2 to 3 drops of food coloring and stir it in to ensure an even, smooth color. When using an extract, use 1 teaspoon. For flavoring oils, only add half of a teaspoon. While the sugar syrup cools,
We'll take a closer look at how these sugar crystals are formed.
for any type of candy making, you always have to start with boiling the sugar until it dissolves.
This method forms a sugar syrup in which you let cool down to form your sugary treat.
Wait, but what's the difference between rock candy and other types of candy if you always start off with that?
Good question. If you want to make rock candy, then you would let the syrup slowly cool down over a few days to form these big sugar crystals. If you wanted to make fudge, you would continuously stir the mixture until it forms small crystals.
Oh, so basically the difference is how the crystals form and their consistency.
Right. So let's take a look at how these crystals are formed and use our particle superpower.
Each grain of sugar consists of a small crystal made up of sucrose molecules, and sucrose molecules are carbohydrates.
The basic unit of a carbohydrate is a monosaccharide, such as glucose or fructose.
Different sugars take on different shapes and forms. Sucrose is a disaccharide made of glucose and fructose.
So these sucrose molecules are held together by intermolecular attractive forces. But when you add these sucrose molecules to water, the water molecules collide with the crystal lattice.
Recall that the crystal lattice is composed of negative and positive ions.
Water is attracted to the sugar crystal because water is polar. It has both a negative and positive end.
The positively charged ions in the sugar crystal attract the oxygen end of the water molecules because they are partially negative.
The negatively charged sugar ions in the crystal attract the hydrogen ion end of the water molecules because they are partially positive.
Due to these interactions, the water molecules pull the sucrose molecules away from the crystal and into the solution.
Man, I got my eye on this process.
That's why these new interactions are being formed called ion dipole forces. This is the formation of glass candy under a microscope, and then this is a formation of rock candy under a microscope. So in the case of rock candy, the syrup is left for several days, which provides plenty of time for the formation of large crystals, so like a quartz structure. In the case of fudge, because the syrup is stirred continuously, a large number of small crystals are formed.
When making glass candy, marshmallows, or gummies, the syrup is cooled down so quickly that no crystals can form at all.
Let's check back on our candy. First, let's quick rinse the prepped jars with hot water, and then we'll pour the sugar syrup into them.
Make sure you don't stand right in front of the pan because the scent can be very strong as it rises in steam.
Allow the sugar syrup to cool for 20 to 30 minutes.
Pour 1 sugared skewer or string into each jar until it hangs about 1 inch from the bottom.
Carefully place your jar in a cool place away from harsh lights where it can sit undisturbed. Cover the top loosely with plastic wrap or a paper towel.
You should start to see the sugar crystals forming within 2 to 4 hours. If you see no change within 24 hours, then try boiling the sugar syrup again and then add a new cup of dissolved sugar.
Then pour it back into the jar and insert the skewer or string again.
Allow the rock candy to grow until it's the size that you want. Don't let it grow too large though, because it might start growing on the sides of the jar.
After letting it rest, a top layer of crystal should form, which is totally okay. Once the candy has reached your desired size, break the top layer of crystal with a fork and then remove the candy.
Transfer the rock candy into an empty jar or glass and keep the clothespins to balance it, and then allow it to dry for about 1 to 2 hours.
And then let's come back in about a day or two to check in back on the candy.
Righto, bucko!
Man, I'm really thirsty.
Well, what do you feel like?
Tea.
I'll go prepare it, but shh. She doesn't know I'm gonna pull a scientific experiment on her.
Let's set her tea on fire.
Where's my tea? Oh. Oh! Whoa! Oh my scoobly-dumptious, you just pulled a scientific experiment on me.
And you totally fell for it.
Did you know, as the tea bag burns, it fills with hot air? Since hot air rises, the paper floats. 1 to 2 days. Let's check on the results.
Let's look at the formed crystals.
Oh my gosh! That looks so good! Wow! Looks like we're done for today.
Let's head back. Man, today was so fun.
It really rocked.
My sentiments, exactly.